All right, hello everyone. We are back for a Golf Clash golden shot video here, and let's get right into it. So let's take a look at the hole real quick. So this is the Nordic Fjords course here, brand new course, and very challenging par 3. So let's just take a look at a couple of the key things about this hole. So the first thing to note here is the wind is 5 to 8 miles per hour. So we're going to look at the golden shot bag. Pretty much everything's going to be with the golden iron. There's not enough backspin to do anything but some kind of fairway hop off of the very first two. Is going to be your best bet. Here you can see the accuracy for the old long iron is about 1.7-ish per ring, give or take. You're shooting over a lot of water here. So you're going to want to do kind of an overplay here. So what would be a better estimation? So if you were to look at all the rings, you would say that all the shots should fall somewhere in the 3 to 4.5 range for all winds between 5 and 8. But what we're going to do is about 20% more than that, which pretty much equates to about an extra ring. So whatever you typically would have gone, you'll go an extra ring. So instead of going, say, between 3 and 4.5, you're going to want to go at least between 4 rings and 5.5 to 6, depending on if it's like a straight. Like if it's very straight wind, you could end up going, as much as say 6 rings. So somewhere between 4 to 6 rings for all adjustments for these shots. So let's take a look here. Pretty standard chest. The only 2 shots you're going to have is kind of a fairway shot over here where I'm pointing towards the left. Of course, you can't really see the hole. And the other alternate shot is going to be off of this fairway. I'm pretty much going to play the wind. So if the wind is pointed very much towards the right, then I'm going to play the left fairway. If it's pointed very much towards the left, then I'm going to play the right fairway. For control on the tailwind and straight, the straight and tailwind, I'm going to try to use this right fairway and just use a little bit more spin control, especially on tailwinds. So let's take a look at what we have for the very first. So this kind of falls into the case that I was just mentioning, where it will go this way. And here you can see I'm going to use about 2 spin, give or take. You're going to make sure that your ball guide is up onto the green before you even start your adjustment. We're also going to need some curl. You can see that it's still coming in quite right. And as I mentioned, especially in this extreme case, you're going to want some kind of an overplay. So instead of going typically, the 5 rings that I would go, I'm going to put this essentially right at max. And here you can see that I'm going to use quite a bit of curl as well. It looks like maybe just a little bit too much, but I did sneak in and get that that gold ring there, just barely, as it came to rest. So it was just a little bit too much curl, but all in all, not too bad. All max clubs, no help there. But let's keep going with this tutorial, see if I can't get a bunch of different factors, wind scenarios for you. What I'm going to do with that spin is it's going to be somewhere between 2, which you could see that I just did there, and max, essentially. So if it's a wind pointed towards the hole, you're going to see that I'll use more max for control. And you'll see that the ball will land beyond the ball guide on tailwinds, but on headwinds, it's going to land short. So this falls into the tailwind category, and you can see how the wind's pointed towards the hole. So what I'm going to do here is I can keep the ball guide just a little bit shorter, and you can see where I'm aiming as well. Additionally to this, I'm going to also do the curl. But as I mentioned, we're going to need some overplays here. So you're going to see me go about 4 rings here with this adjustment. Also add quite a bit of curl, because you could see that the ball guide's still very much towards the left. And it looks like I just put on just a little bit too much backspin. Maybe needed just a hair more curl as well. But you can see that it pretty much has the line. It's pretty much more or less what you're after with that wind. If it would have landed just a little bit longer or just taken off a little bit of that spin. So that's pretty much what you're looking for there. So here you can see that it's pointed much more towards this direction. So the way that I'm going to do it is pretty much use all my spin, maybe right about only 3 on the backspin this time. And I shouldn't need curl here. I should be able to essentially just change my land zone a little bit to kind of make up for that. So I'm going to go just a little bit into 4 rings here. Right about here. And as I mentioned, if I choose the right landing spot, I won't need to curl this one. So here you can actually see that I'm actually getting too much to the left. So I just needed to kind of start just a little bit more right. And that's because of wind effect. So you always got to be thinking about wind effect. But I was able to still creep in and get that chest. It is going to be holeable. It probably is going to require a perfect ball or some kind of sloppy ring play. For example, if I would have hit a great ball there, might have been able to get that one to squeak in. So let's take a look at this again. Now, of course, when you see the wind like this, you already know kind of the direction I'm going to go. I'm going to use about 1 backspin here. We'll kind of change our starting line a little bit. Get it somewhere right in here. And what I typically go is right around maybe 3 1/4 rings. I'm going to go a little bit closer to 4 rings here. So about 4 rings, some curl, perfect ball. Let's see if I got this spin a little bit better this time. It's definitely running out, but it just didn't curl enough. So that's going to be dependent upon your land zone. If I would have just landed just a little bit shorter, it would have actually cut harder towards the right. So you'll just have to kind of play around with that a little bit. It will be holeable both directions. And, I did want to talk about this tailwind case because, as I mentioned, what I'm going to do is backspin for control, maybe just a tiny bit of curl, very, very little. But you can see with what I'm doing with my land zone. And if you can have good ball control, so what I would typically do here is about 3 1/4 rings. I'm going to go a little bit closer to 4. And you can see how landing on the fairway, you can just see when I pulled that, how much it changes the pitch of the ball. So it's really going to be a 2-component thing, not only where you land, but how much curl you apply. Because you can essentially get rid of all curl if you want. You just got to kind of tweak your land zone just the slightest a bit. So if I would have landed just a tad bit more left there, it would have actually either missed left or potentially gone in. So it's just going to come down to precision more than anything. And that's very hard to do with no ball guide. So let's go ahead. I'm going to try for that obsidian chest one more time. You pretty much have the general idea of what I'm going to do here. Again, we kind of went over this. I'm going to have to take off some of the spin when we get winds like this. But I can just kind of change my starting point a little bit to kind of pitch the ball more left. And you can see kind of where I end up right there. And then additionally, we're going to do this overplay that I've been mentioning. So almost towards 4 rings here. And let's just see. I'm not going to curl it. Let's just see if I can't get this one to run somewhere decent. looks like just landed just a little bit left of where I needed it. So not quite enough wind effect played there. I'm going to jump over to the other one just so you can see, let's just say hypothetically, you have leftover balls. I'm not going to keep wasting balls for an obsidian when I could be getting something. Of course, there's a very good chance that I could get it. At the same time, on this account, I don't really need it. So with that being said, I just want to kind of jump over here and just talk about this shot just briefly. Now, what I'll typically do is use some backspin here for control, especially with no ball guide. So what my typical shot is maybe one backspin. However, I'm going to probably start to maybe use between 3 and 4 because I don't have a ball guide. So it'll make things just a little bit easier. So let's just take a look here. Here you can see we actually got a straight headwind, golden long iron again. So do pull up my other guide because I am going to go over this hole. Now what I'll typically try to do is try to get the ball going just a little bit towards the left because it'll actually use the feedback right towards the hole. So as I mentioned, I might do 3 or 4 bars typically, but here in this situation, and we're going to need to do some kind of overplay, we go very close to 5 rings here. And as I mentioned, this ball has like a side hill towards the left. So if you can get it kind of going left towards the hole, it usually feeds to the right. There you can see it actually starting to curl just a little bit towards the right. Looks like I came up just a bit shy. But there you can see with two backspin there, it actually has a very good amount of rollout that I got there. So it's going to give you still a chance to have good control, but also give it just enough momentum to roll towards the hole. Now towards a backspin, like if I was a tailwind, I might be pushing a little bit closer to 4 bars just to be able to have, some of that similar control to where I can kind of control how much the ball rolls out. So just something to be thinking about. But there you can see what I ended up with. Good luck with your hard hole. No reason you can't get all 5 following my guide. And be on the lookout for the medium guide if you're looking at, either going for both of them or if you want something that's just going to be a tad bit easier. Because that hard, I kind of did make it look a little bit easier than it actually is. It's really not that easy of a hole. You can see that the fairway's so everything that you do needs to align perfect. The amount of curl, the amount of rings you go, and plus where you actually land is going to be very critical as to the outcome of your shot. So good luck with that one, and I'll catch you guys on future guides.